Okay, so this one is on how to just get it going. Um, most important, you have to make sure that the power is on and that you see a number here. This is 19 degrees Celsius, that's the water temperature. In behind here, I'll explain the pieces later, but for starting, the main thing is this chain. Gino's gonna do it, so I can go a bit further away. You use it to open the door down below, and you just hook it up on the little S hook so that the door is open, and that'll give you lots of air to get it going. And then we make sure the air is open on the door, which is an important piece, and that'll just flow straight through from the door to the back. It doesn't take much to get it going. It has really good draw. So you put a few pieces of bark in and 3-4 pieces of kindling, and light it up. Puts it all in together. I just light up the bark first, and then I put the kindling on top once it's the bark is lit. And you can pretty much usually go ahead pretty quickly with some bigger logs, bigger pieces right on top, especially if you have, like we do here, some older wood on the bottom that we shut down the fire and it didn't fully burn, and then that helps it get going pretty good. So he's just going to close the door, and that's that's going. So we'll leave it for a couple minutes and then just keep updating you. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, so you can, yep, Gino's just gonna add a log in, or two, yeah. So at this point, you can kind of just start stacking them in. Keep everything open, get it moving. Temp is just barely going up. Watching the temperature is going to be an important part of this as you get used to it. So we've been adding wood for a bit here. We haven't run this fireplace in over a month because it's June. So the tank that it's connected to is cold, so it's taking quite a while to heat up. And so what happens is the pump will come on when the temperature, this pump over here, this pump will come on when the temperature is over 45, and it'll circulate through, but because the water's cold in that second tank, it's going to be taking a little while for us today to get it hot. So this temperature is going to just keep going up and down as the temperature gets, as new water comes in that's cold, that cools the fireplace, that rewarms, that goes downstairs. So once it's warm and circulating, then we will turn on the floors. And so this point, we've shut the back, so you can let that chain out and shut it. This is kind of like once it's going and it's warm. But we leave the door open in the beginning as if you still want to increase the temperature of the water. So this door air is the one we work with the most. The one in the back is open just for starting the fire, and then after like 10-15 minutes we just close it, and then after that just use the door air vent to control the fire heat and how fast it's burning. Okay, so starting to get some pretty good coals. You see in there. So we really try to build up that coal bed, and we do that by playing with this door vent and slowing down the burn so that the coals build up. And so you can even get it like pretty much to there, almost nowhere at all, and it'll keep burning slow, but you'll lose your heat. So you're kind of playing with this, like a little bit more heat, a little bit more coal, and then that would totally put the fire out eventually. So it's pretty sensitive, this little door vent, and the more you play with it, the more you'll get to see what it does. So I'm going to put it, I think about half actually. I still want to be generating heat, because I'm just going to put the floors on, but I do want more coal. So there we go. And you can see here our temperature's rising. So 55 is a good time, 4 is a good time. Time to start the floors. So come over here, and we just turn the floors up And so what this does is takes the heat out of the water that's circulating in the fireplace, and it goes through the heat exchanger downstairs, and then it's going to start going through floors. And we will do a next update soon. Little update. So I haven't added any wood since the last video, but you can see even with the floors going, now the water is nice and warm, and it's transferring well into the floors. That's easy again to check just by coming back here, and I can touch this and it should be very touchable. And then down there, I'm not even going to touch it, but that'll be very, very hot. And then yeah, you can see that we got lots of coals going. It's pretty warm. That's pretty much where I like to keep it. It creates lots of heat, and I'm gonna now start shutting it down. So that means I just close this completely. Close it up, and close, and the back is closed. And that's it. And now you wait well, a while, because the floors need to keep running as long as that's still up. Once that temperature is down to about 45, 50, then there's no problem. If the fireplace has been shut down, then there's no problem turning off the floors. Okay, so this is on the back here a little bit. You can see here already we're getting a little bit of water coming out. This is the pressure valve release that's going to release any air in the system. So this can just happen when it sits for a while, and then air bubbles move through, and then we run it again and we get a little bit of spitting out the top. It's just to be ignored. We just ignore it. What you want to check though is that the pressure gauge, once the water is warm, you should be seeing a bit of pressure, and this is a bit low, so I might actually add a little bit of water here. My camera is not focusing in, but that's at about 15, and I'd like to see it maybe a bit closer to 20, but it's not a big deal, but it's just the efficiency of the pump. So yeah, I might add a bit of water, but you should never have to touch that. If you ever do, then we can have a FaceTime. And this is again another pressure chamber for holding pressure if too much builds out into the system. It's a safety feature. And then down here is where it gets a little bit more interesting. I'll go into the whole like safety shutdown if ever needed, but basically, hopefully you'll never need that, but I will still teach you. But anyway, this is the pump. Weird enough, like you can't even ever tell when it's running. It's so quiet. And so there's no sound at all coming from it, but you can feel it warming up as it's running. And I can put my hand here on this nice little arm quite comfortably. And when we first started the fire, and the first like 20 minutes, this was really cold, and now I can start to feel the heat coming through it, but it's still quite cool because the heat is being moved through the whole system into the basement tank, and then the cooler water is coming up here and going through the fire. But this one down here is so hot I can hardly touch it. So the water coming out here goes down to the basement, mixes with the cool water in the tank downstairs, and then once we start the floors, it will start to transfer to the floors. And then basically down here you have your two pipes. The one on the right should be hot, and the one on the left should be cool. And the main thing is that we should be feeling a little bit of heat here as it comes up and it goes back into the system. And you know it's all working because the temperature holds. So the temperature should be easily between, we're happy with it around 45, around 50, around 60, around 70 is all fine. But you would start to get a bit concerned if you see it going up into the high 70s, into the 80s, and definitely high concern if it were to go up in the 90s. So good range, let's say 45 is a bit low, so best range is around 50 to 60, 65. And anything above 65, then you're going to start to reduce your heat, and we'll send another video for that. So this is our backup battery pack. I've just unplugged it from the wall just to do a little test because the pump is running, the fireplace is on, and wanted to see what it says. And so really fantastic. It says that we have 3 hours of running time on the battery, which would be way more than enough for this to shut down. An hour would be enough to get it into easily safe zone, no problem at all, and a couple hours would be super. So this pump is going to keep running for a few hours after the fireplace is cool. It just keeps circulating and cooling off the system. So you want it to keep running. That's the important part. So here, we can see here that we have one pump running, the upstairs, which is one we turned on. Usually you just put them both on, putting heat into both floors. As you wish, you get to choose. The pump on the right goes up, the pump on the left goes down. You can follow the pipes once we clean our stuff out of here, and you can see how the whole thing's working. We have another pressure gauge, and yeah, I'll explain this maybe in a different video, but I just want to show the working of the fire now that we're on that. So just coming in here in the dark. Okay, so in the fire back here next to the shower, this is the tank that's connected to the fireplace. And when we touch this coming in, it's pretty hot. And we touch this coming out, and you can definitely feel that it's quite a bit cooler. And then here, this is the one coming out to the floors, and then this one's the one coming back in from the floors. And what's really neat here is, so this is the heat exchanger, and this one's like pretty darn cold, and then you can feel the heat coming out of this one. And the heat also, once it's transferred, it comes back into this tank. And so once the whole thing starts heating up and the floors are warm and the fireplace is warm and all this water is warm, then this tank will store extra hot water. And then this is a slow heat exchange that will slowly transfer the heat into this one. So the idea is you can just turn off the hot water tank electric for the winter, and this was your backup source. And then this one, it'll transfer it into this one, but this one is the one that is plugged in. And we got super hot water coming out here, and we got hot water coming into it, and then the cold returning from the floors. And then I will do some more videos on eventually on like a little bit more of how to use this part if ever needed.